The story of the greatest fisherman. Once upon a time in a village near a big lake, there lived an old man. The old man was known as the greatest fisherman in the village. Every day he would go fishing in the lake and catch the biggest fish. He was so good at fishing that no one in the village could beat him. One day the king heard about this super fisherman and sent for him and said, "I want you to come to my palace and fish out the biggest fish in my royal pond." The fisherman said, "No problem, your highness," and went to the palace. The king took him to the royal pond and said, "You have to fish out the biggest fish in my pond. If you do, I will give you a sack of gold." The fisherman looked at the pond and saw many big and small fish inside it. He took out his fishing rod and started fishing. After a while, he felt a big tug on his fishing rod and he shouted, "I got one." He pulled out a big fish and dropped it in the bucket. Then he looked at the fish and saw that it had a crown on its head. The fisherman knew that this was no ordinary fish. This was the biggest and the most beautiful fish in the king's pond. The king was so happy that he gave the fisherman a sack of gold and asked him to keep it a secret from everyone, including his wife. The fisherman went home and kept the sack of gold in his house. But that night, his wife saw the sack of gold and asked him, "Where did you get all this money?" The fisherman told her everything about how he caught the biggest fish in the king's pond and how the king had rewarded him. The wife said, "We can't keep this money. We should give it back to the king." The fisherman said, "No, we can't. The king asked me to keep it a secret." The wife said, "If we don't return it, we will never be able to look at ourselves in the mirror again." The fisherman thought for a moment and then said, "You are right." So they decided to return the sack of gold to the king. The next day, the fisherman went to the king and returned the sack of gold. The king was very angry when he heard this and said, "I promised you a reward, and you weren't supposed to tell anyone. Why didn't you keep it a secret?" The fisherman said, "I'm sorry, your highness. I couldn't keep it a secret from my wife. She made me bring it back." The king saw that the fisherman was a poor man and said, "You can keep the money. I only wanted to test you to see if you were really the greatest fisherman in the village. Since you have passed my test, I will give you double the amount of gold." The fisherman was very happy and thanked the king. From that day on, the fisherman became even more famous than before. And whenever he went fishing, he would always catch the biggest fish.